In recent news, a controversial court ruling in Alabama has left the nation divided and many in a state of uncertainty. This statement rings true as we delve into the recent Alabama Supreme Court ruling that has redefined the status of frozen embryos as extra-uterine children. This ruling, unprecedented in its nature, has thrown a wrench into the otherwise routine in vitro fertilization or IVF procedures in the state. Suddenly, the petri dishes housing potential life have been thrust into the spotlight, their existence now a matter of legal and ethical debate. The implications of this ruling are far-reaching. It has brought to a halt the IVF procedures in the state, leaving countless couples who rely on this technology in their journey towards parenthood in a state of limbo. The embryos, once seen as a means to an end, are now in a state of legal stasis, their status as children complicating their existence outside the womb. This ruling has also sparked a nationwide debate, a conversation that transcends the borders of Alabama. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle have found themselves in a quandary. The Democrats, traditionally champions of reproductive rights, are pushing for legislation to safeguard IVF rights. On the other hand, Republicans are grappling with the task of reconciling their support for IVF with their anti-abortion stances. The situation is further complicated by the lack of bipartisan consensus. Prominent figures such as Senator Tammy Duckworth and former President Donald Trump have voiced their support for IVF. However, the GOP's stance on IVF is further muddled by the Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization decision on abortion. Meanwhile, Alabama legislators are also divided on how to respond to the court ruling. Democrats are proposing bills to clarify the status of embryos, while Republicans are emphasizing support for families and infertility resources. Amidst this turmoil, Alabama's Attorney General has assured that the ruling will not lead to prosecutions, but some clinics have paused IVF treatments due to legal uncertainties. This ruling has not only halted IVF procedures, but also has raised ethical and legal questions about the status of embryos. As we continue to explore this topic, we delve deeper into the human aspect, the personal struggles of those directly affected by the ruling, and the larger implications on society and law. Behind the legal and ethical debates, there are individuals grappling with deeply personal decisions. Take Erica Anderson and her husband, for instance. They underwent infertility treatment, which resulted in 2 successful pregnancies and 9 embryos in storage. For them, these embryos are not just potential lives, but symbols of hope and a testament to their journey towards parenthood. Similarly, Elaine Meyer has a deep emotional connection to her stored embryos. These aren't just clusters of cells to her, but potential children, each carrying a piece of her and her partner's genetic legacy. The decision about what to do with these embryos is not one she takes lightly. It's not just about legal rights or ethical principles, but about love, loss, and the potential of life. And then there's Nicole Straka. She discovered stored embryos unexpectedly and was faced with a decision that many would find daunting. Rather than keeping them in storage indefinitely or discarding them, she chose to donate her embryos to research. This decision, while complex and emotionally challenging, highlights the potential for stored embryos to contribute to scientific advancements that could benefit many. Each of these stories is unique, yet they all share a common thread: the deeply personal nature of decision-making when it comes to stored embryos. These aren't sterile medical decisions made in a vacuum, but deeply human choices, fraught with emotion and individual values. The emotional attachment and value that these individuals place on their stored embryos underscore the fact that we're not just talking about cells in a petri dish, but potential lives that carry deep significance for the people who created them. These stories underline the deeply personal nature of the issue, often overlooked amidst the legal and ethical debates. The courtrooms and legislative halls may be filled with arguments and counter-arguments, but at the heart of it all are real people, making real decisions about real potential lives. And that's something we must never forget. The implications of this ruling reach far beyond the borders of Alabama. This decision has stirred up the waters not just in Alabama, but across the United States, particularly in other conservative states. The future of in vitro fertilization, or IVF, is now shrouded in uncertainty. Clinics are grappling with legal and ethical questions, concerned about potential liability, criminal charges, and the indefinite storage of frozen embryos. This ruling could significantly alter the way embryos are handled and treated, impacting the ability of clinics to provide IVF services. The ruling has also sparked a battle of ideologies, particularly within the Republican Party. On the one hand, there is a strong support for IVF, a procedure that has offered hope to countless couples struggling with infertility. On the other hand, there is a deeply ingrained anti-abortion stance. This dichotomy is further complicated by the Dobbs-Jackson Women's Health Organization decision on abortion, which has added another layer of complexity to the discussion. It's a tightrope walk for the Republicans, trying to reconcile these two contrasting positions while navigating the political landscape. Meanwhile, Democrats are pushing back. They're advocating for legislation to safeguard IVF rights, striving to ensure that this ruling doesn't curtail the access to fertility treatments. They aim to protect the individual's right to make decisions about their reproductive health, a right that could be jeopardized by the Alabama ruling. But it's not just a political issue. It's a deeply personal one, too, for the thousands of individuals and couples who rely on IVF to build their families. They are now caught in the crossfire of this legal and ethical debate, their dreams of parenthood hanging in the balance. The ruling has triggered a nationwide discourse on the moral status of embryos and the balance between individual rights and ethical considerations. The conversation has only just begun, and its outcome could reshape the landscape of reproductive medicine and personal rights in the United States. This issue delves into personal, ethical, and theological dimensions, and it's rooted in the interpretation of sacred scriptures such as the Bible and the Torah. It's intricate, it's emotional, and it impacts many people in diverse ways. We've deliberated over theological interpretations, personal testimonies, and the broader implications. Christianity is a descendant of Judaism. So what about Judaism's view on when life begins? In Jewish tradition, life is seen to begin at the first breath, a concept rooted in Genesis 2:7 of the Torah, which states, "Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." Breath of life is, therefore, considered the genesis of life. This understanding shapes the Jewish stance on issues like in vitro fertilization, IVF, and the status of embryos. The belief that life begins at the first breath means that embryos are not considered alive in the same sense as a breathing human, influencing ethical decisions about the treatment and use of embryos. Numbers 5:24 even gives instructions on how to concoct a potion to end a pregnancy. So, it seems the Bible does not agree that life begins at conception, as some argue. What are your reflections, your experiences, your viewpoints? Perhaps you've deeply pondered over these questions from your own spiritual path. In discussions like these, it's essential to remember that people are at the hearts of this issue and others. Political grandstanding doesn't help those affected. It's through love, empathy, and compassion that we can explore the complexities of theological issues like these and perhaps find common ground. We encourage you to share your thoughts and interpretations in the comments section below. Remember, your voice matters in this ongoing theological conversation.
We are constantly making new content to help you on your walk of faith. Please like and subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with the latest content.